Oh, it was a very solid rubbery thud. I feel wrong doing this. Ugh. Hello everyone, welcome to Live Travel Reviews. I'm here in Yangpyeong, Korea, checking out the cherry blossoms and decided to stop by this little creekside to review a product that I got. Now, it's not the most ideal location to be shooting a review because there's some background noise with the creek. But on Live Travel Reviews, it's all about traveling first and not some scripted product review from a wedding photographer or a filmmaker. Anyways, the first product I'll be reviewing is from SCOKC Optics. I have to be honest with you, I'm quite skeptical about this product. It honestly wasn't something that was on my radar for something I needed as a travel vlogger. But if you've been watching my vlogs, I've lately been going up mountains, switching up to a lighter gear with a GoPro, and I haven't been able to get that zoom range to capture the birds or something of an interest that's far away. So this is something, although I'm skeptical, I'm hoping will solve those issues. Now, first impressions, I wouldn't say the packaging is quite Apple standard, but then again, this is only like 50 bucks. The case is actually not that bad. It's nicely stitched. It looks like they have a little lanyard thing. This should be quite handy when I'm hiking out there so I don't lose it. Wow, a really big microfiber cloth. I'm not sure if this is necessary, but I think actually I'll use this to clean my laptop. And lastly, a very simple spec sheet. It's a 8X20ED Monocular Telescope. Comes in 4 different colors. I actually like all the color choices. It has a very military kind of feel to it, which I'm all for. So the objective lens diameter is 20 millimeters. The diameter of the eyepiece is 16.5 millimeters. And it claims to have very low chromatic aberration. Only weighs 105 grams, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get this, being that I don't want to be weighed down with something that's too big when I'm hiking. And the size itself, pretty small. I mean, it has a good weight to it though. It feels relatively quality. It has a very rubbery texture on the outside, almost like my JBL charge speakers. This probably is the perfect type of material so it doesn't slip out of my hands. Quality seems good, but the only thing I would probably have an issue about is this lens cap. Although it fits well, something about it just doesn't seem that quality to me, although the rubber itself is very good. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it should work at getting its job done, but being that everything else is so high quality, I wish they at least made a little bit of a groove here to keep this lens cap steady and just sort of round it off the edges. What I'll probably do is probably just cut off these little holders and then just use it as a cap like this. Yeah. So there's 2 areas you can be twisting. I believe this right here is for the focus in the center. And you can twist out the edge right here for your eyepiece. I imagine this is so that you can put it right up to your eyelashes without having it get oil on the main eyepiece there. And it has a little area right there for you to attach the lanyard. I mean, overall, I would say this is a pretty good quality piece of optic for the price. But let me move on to the main reason I got this. And it's because it comes with this, an attachment for you to put it on your phone so that you can use it to film really close up. So I believe you're supposed to just attach it like this. Oh, that's pretty ingenious. I could then move this around, and this little knob here allows me to adjust the length. So there's like a little hole there you can line up with your main lens and tighten it. You know, I was actually very skeptical about this, but seeing the design now up close, this should pretty much work for any average size phone. For reference, this is an iPhone 7. And see how much it stretches out? So I can't really see any other phone becoming wider than that. Now that this is a fixed, I guess you just, oh. Well, that would make sense why this is so rubbery. It needs to grip on in there pretty tight. because it's sort of just using a suction friction type of holding right there. But I mean, as long as you're not throwing it around, I really don't see it coming out of this. So my initial impressions tells me that, I really like it because it has a very low profile. It's definitely not going to get in my way of hiking. I can just throw this in there. This is definitely a lot lighter than having to carry around the DSLR and like another lens. I mean, this is only a kit 18 to 135 millimeter, but compare the size. But I'm sure there must be some kind of a sacrifice to this, so let's go ahead and test out the picture quality. All right, guys, now for like a real case scenario of how we may be able to use something like this compared to something like this. Now, this isn't a fair comparison because the price difference between these are enormous. Just the body of this A6400 is gonna cost you a little less than $1,000. This lens is gonna be a couple $100, and you have a phone you'll always carry, and this isn't even a great one. It's an iPhone 7, so it's quite old, with a $50-ish lens. So if this even does like half of what this does, I would consider it a win for me. But anyways, let's see. Ooh, it's sort of out of focus. Okay, so I think you have to adjust this focus knob here. I'm actually quite surprised how sharp this monocular is. I mean, I'm gonna have to look at the footage in more detail when I'm back home, but it's pretty much as sharp as I need it to be. Let's see. Oh, okay, so it's almost like a manual lens. If you go up close, you're gonna have to adjust focus again. So that's sort of a downside for those of you guys who don't wanna hassle with focusing. It's almost like using a manual lens, but I think it's relatively easy, especially when you have this phone, because unlike a traditional camera, which is really hard to get focus on, because I mean, you can see just how much of a difference the light is. I mean, the newer phones are even brighter than this, but this is like $1,000 camera, and the viewfinder is sort of dark and it's smaller. So it's really hard to rack focus on this, and you're really relying on autofocus a lot of times when I'm vlogging. But this is really easy to do focus on. I imagine if you have like a bigger iPhone 11 with a brighter screen, OLED, it'll be super easy. Yeah, I'm impressed. Now, this is something I sort of expected. The iPhone 7 here, it doesn't have good optical stabilization. So it does shake a bit. Let me see, if you don't have optical stabilization, like how smooth of a pan I can get. I really wish I had my iPhone 11 to test it out with, which had optical stabilization, but a lot of you guys know I just ran over it with a car a week or two ago. But I'm relatively happy with the results this is giving me though. You're gonna have this little circular thing, but you know what? For vlogging purposes, I could crop in on this probably about 50%, and since I'm shooting 4K, it should be giving me better results than like a 1080p resolution. But I'm not too worried about the circular thing, and if anything, because there is no optical stabilization, I actually think I would include this little border around the side, almost sort of as a way for me to make it look like I'm shooting a scope, because I'll honestly be pointing this like at birds. Is that a bird or a piece of trash? But I'll be pointing it at things like this and saying, hey, look at this. And then it has that little circular thing on there. Almost makes it look like I'm scoping it out. So for what I'm gonna use in my vlogs, I think this is gonna be fine. But even if you crop in, I think it'll be fine as well too. This also has a little tripod hole right there. Let me see if that's gonna give me a much stable image, or if it's like the lens here shaking on this that's causing the shake. Now, in all reality, I don't go hiking with this, but I have a little GoPro holder, which the GoPro is shooting on right now, that I always carry with me when I'm hiking. Has the same thread as that one, the slightly smaller thread. That's pretty standard for anything that's on the bottom of a camera. Now, unfortunately, the ball head is set up for a quick release, so I won't be able to show you how that's gonna look, but it should all look the same, pretty much standard. All right, so as long as there's optical stabilization or you got a tripod, you could definitely have this rock solid. There's a bit of breeze coming through and it's not really impacting how this shakes. It's rock solid. You know what? I'm gonna try panning this on this tripod and see how smooth I can get it. I mean, it's not the most smoothest pan, but you know, when you're in a bind, this is usable footage. I'm actually really impressed. Now the real question is how close can this get to the objects that I'm shooting in relation to this? So for reference, this 18mm, which is almost the full frame 24mm equivalent, that's what you're actually seeing on a cell phone. So when you zoom in to about 135mm, that's what you get. I mean, to be honest with you, if you had a DSLR and you weren't trying to be too lightweight, then this gets you pretty close if you happen to have a 135mm lens. The reason I use that sort of as a standard is it's pretty much as zoomed in as you can go without getting to the really high tier of telephoto lenses. This one, although it is a kit lens, it's like the upgraded kit lens from Sony. So yeah, I mean, if you just happen to have a 135mm, maybe you don't have to go out of your way to get this. But the reality is most people who are hiking and such, like me, or going outdoors or traveling, we don't already have a 135mm lens. And this does technically get you a little closer than this. Now, if I actually cropped in to this image without the little scope line, it would look even closer, like almost twice as close as this. For reference, let me shoot that electric pole over there. I think that's maybe a better reference for size. So here's what you would get if you shot it with just a phone. And if you racked it into 135mm, this is what you would get. I mean, and also this has optical stabilization built in. You're getting the full 4K out of this, no crop. So that would be the benefit of this. Whereas this right here just gets you a lot closer. Super light. You know, I really wish I had optical stabilization on my camera, because nowadays most of you guys have it, to show you the effect of how that would play out. That would be interesting, because there'd be OSS on here and I don't know, it might shift around that scope area, but I imagine it couldn't be as good as having like OSS on a DSLR. Again, it's not a fair comparison because it's not really an option for you to go out there and spend over $1,000 on this, when in reality, if you had like $1,000, I would recommend you go out there and buy a drone, which has definitely taken my filmmaking to a whole new level. I mean, me walking around with this and getting maybe more cinematic shots in the hiking trail, sacrificing a ton of weight, compared to using that space to bring a drone, which is half this cost. I would say do that and just spend 50 bucks on something like this. For the super rare occurrences, you do need to zoom in. Do you see that woodpecker? So cute. And it's quite rare because when you're outdoors and you're traveling, if anything, I'm spending a lot of money to try to get lenses that can get me as wide of a shot as possible, because you want to capture this nature, like this panoramic view. Now, what I forgot to mention though is for most people, they might not even be interested in taking videos and such. Maybe they just want to use this to look at things off in a distance. And for that, this is fantastic. I don't see any chromatic aberrations at all. It's really clear. This would actually be a very dangerous tool in the hands of a peeping Tom. I mean, it's so stealthy. I could just walk and, oh, what? I got some people coming at me at a distance here. I could just like look at them and, okay, they are sort of looking back at me. They're like, why are you looking at me? So having something that you can zoom in, and as just like an extra bonus, being able to shoot like those really close-up shots in the rare cases you do need to do it, I think this is worth the price. I'm really surprised I'm saying this, because I was like, you know, $50, some people might not think that that's a lot of money, but to me, I'm very budget conscious, and on top of that, I'm also very weight conscious. I don't want to be carrying around anything that I don't need. So I was like, could I really recommend this to people? But I really can say that I do recommend this. Now, something I'm gonna also try with this is, it says it is waterproof. So let me go ahead and dunk this in the water. Make sure that there aren't watermarks everywhere. It is a $50 piece of equipment. I sort of feel bad doing this, but it's for you guys. Let me go ahead and shoot it so I show you guys how it looks like. Everything looks sort of normal. I am getting a bit of a haze around the side. Maybe it fogs up a bit. So if you dunk it in something really cold like this, maybe just let it dry off a little bit. Okay, much better now. But if you're concerned about the lens flare on the side after dunking it in water, getting dirt around it, recommend that you carry a microfiber cloth, because it's not really easy to clean around the edges there because of the little rim right there. But overall, it seems very well insulated. I don't see a drop of water in there. It's waterproof in my book. Now, something that they didn't claim, but I was a bit concerned about, is just how well made this is, because honestly, if I'm carrying this around, there's probably a good chance I will drop it. I'll do 3 drops for good measure onto a rocky surface. I think this could definitely take some abuse, and the little rubbery outer part, it probably dampens a lot of the shot. And now for the ultimate test. I'll drop it from a pretty reasonable height, recreating maybe an incident where I'm fiddling around with this on my phone and it drops, right? Because that could happen. About 5 foot 6 inches height distance onto rocks. I'm a bit nervous about this actually. Oh, it was a very solid rubbery thud, but I feel wrong doing this. Ugh. You know what? It's pretty solid, guys. Everything's working fine. I really don't think you can ask for more for 50 bucks. SCOKC Optics. You know it's a good product when the thing I have the biggest issue about is the name. Because imagine you take the S out. Now, if you're interested in the product, you can check the link below to the product in Amazon. It's not going to cost you anything more to purchase it off of that, but I will get a slight commission if you do. So it'll definitely help the channel out. And for full disclosure, because I'm a travel vlogger and I constantly have companies reaching out to me to review products, this product was sent to me for free, but the opinions that are expressed in this are completely unbiased. I'm only reviewing stuff and accept products that I'm going to be using in my vlogs. If you don't believe me, go ahead and check out my main channel, Live Travel Asia, where I'll now be using this product to shoot all my hiking vlogs and also allowing my parents to use it when we're traveling through Jeju Island in the upcoming week. Whatever the case, hope you guys have a fantastic week. Stay safe from Corona, and see you guys again for another live travel review.